Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. Such a pleasure to be able to speak to you today. I guess just to kick off, the fashion world is one of those that people sort of fantasize about or have, quite an elusive grasp on what it's really made of. And I love the fact that this show sort of pulls the curtain back. How familiar were you with this world, and how much fun was it to delve into it in this series?
May I say I'm very familiar with it because I had, I started to work with Chanel when I was 28 for the number 5, and I'm still working with them. At the same time, I'm very familiar, but I'm familiar with the nice side of it, not with the mean side of it, with the power side or, the creative side. It has changed a lot, that has changed. But anyway, I don't have to do, with the fight for the power and the fight between the houses and the names. So I do know the fashion, but have the best and not the worst that you see. We really mean, there's really a fight for power. And fashion now is power in France. It's like any industry, they're making so much money with it. It is a huge industry in France that we need. He doesn't know anything. He said he didn't know anything about fashion. So he discovered everything. He believes everything is so mean. I said, no, we're not all like that. They're not all like that.
Yeah, no, it was a pleasure for me to discover all this world behind the curtain. That's true. But I don't know a lot about fashion like Carole, because women with haute couture and fashion are very much more solicited. I would say that for men it's different, less and less, because we also work with the industry of fashion and haute couture.
More and more.
But yes, shooting this series was really a pleasure for me.
And as you mentioned there, a lot of this is about power. And I love the fact that the show is also very much focusing on the women's perspective and how they're sort of making inroads perhaps into those positions of power, perhaps rather than being associated more as the muse, as the one in front of the camera, particularly with Diane. And how did you approach this character? And of course, there's a lot going on behind her actions. There's a feeling of wanting to get vengeance. She's definitely a force to be reckoned with. So how did you approach Diane?
Yes, she's really awful, to tell you. She's really mean. I used a character that somebody knows in France, but as a look, not as I didn't know her behavior, but she had a huge industry. And I used her look, almost the look I have in the movie. Very, very proper, very, very to the point that it was boring to do, because it had to be perfect all the time, and then we had to do remake all, and retouch all the time. I've not experienced, that violence in so much violence in the fashion industry until we did that, because that's of course telling a story, and the fun of it is, the whole family fighting. That happens in families. I know that in fashion, because, if you have 2 brothers, 2 sisters, whatever, it's a family business. So if they don't get along together, then there's a big fight. And we have that because, we had Arnaud and Pinot, we're buying and buying and buying and buying, and even more, old houses. But Chanel, I'm not supposed to talk about that, but I just thought because they stayed, by themselves, and they still belong to the same family. So I don't have I never felt really that violence that I had to play with a lot of pleasure, because it's fun to play somebody mean, but I'm very mean with everybody, with my whole family. Such a search for power. It's crazy. It's far from my character. May I tell you the truth?
And for you, Pierre, playing Victor, he's right at the heart of this rivalry and obviously has these split loyalties. How did you sort of get into that character and think about his motivations and those decisions that he makes?
Well, I felt that this guy was really torn apart between the family that has kicked him out of the house. His wife, who is the daughter of Diane Revel, the biggest group in Europe, from the richest women in Europe. So he's a little bit torn apart between the 2 families, but also he has ambition. So he wants to succeed, he wants to have success, and to have his revenge, towards his brother.
That's why I'm using him.
Yeah.
That's why he married my daughter. You know, I'm trying to pick everybody on the family and work behind the scene and get it all.
Absolutely.
That's the idea. You know, I mean, I always want more in the more and more and more and more. I don't know if she will be ever satisfied, to tell you the truth. We'll know in the next, maybe, you know, when we do the following, what could she go further than that, because I mean she already almost got it all, besides the fact we know that that I can't say because otherwise I'm going to say something important on there. But that she has a slight problem.
Well, can't wait to see what happens next. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that with me, and I can't wait for everyone else to have a chance to see La Maison. Thanks a lot.
Thank you to
Thank
you.
you.